With that, we get to Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, coming us live from the Wells Fargo Center tonight. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I don't know if the Flyers are doing okay, but I'm doing okay.
This is our first meltdown post game of the year, Chuck. I'm losing my mind. That's where it's been.
That was half the reason I agreed to come tonight.
Yeah,
because I was a last minute addition, and I was like, you know what? I need to yell a little bit, so let's go.
You came in for Jet Luchenko tonight.
I did.
So I want to start with Tyson Foerster. I want to start at the beginning, and we'll work our way from there. Tyson Foerster comes out of the lineup. Was this, my theory, towards sending a message by sending one of his guys? Because he sits Morgan Frost, everyone's immune to that. Okay, so it's a day of the week. Or was this simply, I want to get some other guys in the lineup? If you could get in that crazy man's head, what do you think the reason behind sitting Typho was?
Well, he was asked after the game why, and he more or less said he's just not playing well. And that was the most of an answer that we got from him. Now, look, we may rip on John Tortorella on occasion, but it's not like he doesn't do things for reasons. I'm sure he had a reason in his head beyond, I'm just angry at this guy right now. I'm sure he thought it out and decided that's who he wanted to sit. For me, it's just there's so many guys playing poorly. I guess on one side, it could have been so many other people. On the other side, I can't bring myself to get annoyed with it because Tyson Foerster is absolutely one of those guys who deserve to sit. It's just that there happens to be 8 guys who probably deserve to get scratched right now. And you had to pick one. My guess, and this is just a guess, is that John Tortorella thinks that Tyson Foerster is likely, probably because he has respect for him, he thinks Tyson Foerster is likely to take this the right way. Whereas, for example, on some level, and I'm not saying he won't do it because he's John Tortorella, he'll literally do anything. On some level, John Tortorella knows that if he were to scratch Sean Couturier again, it's going to create an uproar. If he were to scratch Matvei Michkov, which again, he might, don't put anything past him, it's going to be a big thing. You scratch Tyson Foerster, yeah, some people online are going to be mad because that's just the way it works online. And Tyson Foerster's a popular player, but it's not going to create, no one nationally is going to be talking about the fact that John Tortorella scratched Tyson Foerster. And he probably thinks that Tyson Foerster is off to a slow start. He's a guy who he has a lot of respect for, who he praised constantly last year. But he probably thinks that Foerster needed a little bit of a wake-up call. And he thinks that Foerster is the type of player who will respond well to getting this wake-up call. Now, we'll see. He might not. I truly do not know the ways that one motivates Tyson Foerster. I don't know him well enough to know if he's going to respond poorly or well to this. John Tortorella, I suspect, thinks he will respond well to this. I guess we'll see if he's right. But I really think it boils down to just those two things. Number one, he's not playing well. 8 or 9 players in his regular lineup aren't playing well. And he picked out a guy who, A, wasn't going to create a national firestorm if he sat him, and B, he feels like will respond in the right way to being scratched. That's why I'm guessing it happened. And I think, and I kind of tweeted this out when it got announced, on some level, I can't bring myself to get worked up about it because this is just John Tortorella. This is the John Tortorella experience. We've seen it so many times that I can't bring myself to get outraged because I don't know. This is just what he does. This is what John Tortorella does. And either you just roll with it or you stop following the team.
Yeah, and the number of things that outraged me tonight, outrage isn't what I'm feeling. I'm just trying to maybe attach a greater motivation to it. And maybe that's just, John Tortorella woke up and said, you know what, I'm mad at Tyson Foerster today. That could be too, because he's as emotional as we are as fans. I get it. But since we're talking about players who maybe deserve to come out of the lineup, Egor Zamula, Charlie, I understand he had a decent season last year in his first, okay, you're no longer waiver exempt. Let's give you a shot. He even gave a little jolt to the power play at times last year. -3 tonight. He's punished for his -3 by playing the 3rd most minutes among the defense, almost 20. A couple of turnovers that lead to shorthanded. He was not good. People have been really zeroing in on Zamula. You think he's in the lineup tomorrow?
I don't know. There would certainly be justification to sit him. That said, I mean, for me, I'm less concerned about him being in the lineup and more concerned about him not being on the power play anymore. That's where he's at his worst, at least so far this season. Now, he showed some signs last year. There were some moments where Zamula showed some potential on power play too. His patience with the puck, he showed some real poise. And I think they want to give this a decent runway. Goes back to what John Tortorella has straight up said multiple times so far this season about not wanting to shake up the power play units too much because Rocky Thompson doesn't want that to happen because he wants to give these units a chance to build chemistry. So I think that's played into a lot of this. That said, Zamula looks bad on the power play. And even in the games where power play 2 looked good, it wasn't him that was driving it. You know, it was Bobby Brink, it was Joel Farabee, it was Jet Luchenko on some nights. Like Zamula was just there. He happened to be the guy up at the point, and now he's actively making it worse. So for me, like, look, if you want to scratch Egor Zamula, fine. Like, you could certainly justify it. If you can justify scratching Tyson Foerster, you justify scratching Egor Zamula. Fair. That said, if you scratch Egor Zamula, Eric Johnson's coming in. And I don't think that's moving the needle dramatically one way or the other, unless you want to go nuclear and call Emil Andre back up and actually play him. Like, that might actually make an improvement, but he's not here anymore. I don't think they're going to do that. So if you scratch Zamula, you're putting Johnson in. And I don't think that's really like dramatically changing your win probability percentage. The one thing they should do, and I agree in principle with the idea of we don't want to shake up the power play units. We know it was a big problem last year. That said, when a guy is looking this bad and you have other viable options in guys like Cam York and Travis Sanheim, who, like, I don't know if either of them are great power play guys, but they could do it. You know, they're capable of doing that. Like, to me, that's the no-brainer move. If you want to sit Egor Zamula, whatever, that's fair. But to me, the move here is you got to take him off that power play because yikes.
Yeah, and like Cam York, before his NHL career, effective power play player throughout his time. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't do it, especially considering Cam York needs to be on one of these units one day. So maybe that day should be Wednesday, October 23rd. Just a thought. Charlie, through 6 games, what line mate, center or winger, whatever, has looked best with Matvei Michkov?
I know what you want me to ask. I know what you want me to answer, but like, I don't know if anybody like Frost has shown signs. I think Morgan Frost has had shifts here and there. I think Sean Couturier has had shifts here and there where he's looked good with Michkov, but I don't think anyone has stepped up and made it clear that they have to be with Michkov at 5-on-5. I just don't think that anyone, like, I don't think there's anyone that's been that great with him, which is, I think, plays into why they're juggling the line so much. And I get the criticism of John Tortorella for juggling the lines. A couple people asked it to individual players after the game about, is all the line juggling messing with the chemistry where no one's really able to get into a fit? And I think Travis Sanheim was the frankest about it, where he basically said, look, like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough not, building that chemistry. But on one side, you can't really blame Torts. And he's absolutely right when he says, he's like, we're taking so many stupid penalties that the lines have to be shuffled around because of that, because we get run out of our flow because there's a guy in the box and then guys play PK and then there are only guys who play power play. So I don't disagree that the lines are probably being shaken up too much, and maybe John Tortorella is like getting his fix because he can't adjust the power play. So it's like, I got to do it all at 5-on-5. So he's doing it all at 5-on-5. But by the same token, they wouldn't have to shake up the lines this much if they were actually playing well, and they're not playing well.
I really thought tonight, and we can talk about this plenty tomorrow. Charlie and Kelly will be in studio with us for pre and post game. I thought tonight, in a night where they could not establish the forecheck, Michkov and Couturier looked like a pretty decent duo together. They were creating some room for each other down low. They were actually getting in on offense. And as kind of all of Twitter seems to be voicing this opinion at one point, they then go to an interview. I know you're in the arena, so you didn't see the broadcast. They go to an interview with Torts, and he goes, I don't like what's going on at center right now. Ryan Paling's in between Michkov and Tippett. It's like, yeah, guess what's not going to work? That. But the Flyers then immediately took a penalty. I think it lasted like a shift or two, and then to get everything back together, pretty sure Coots was back out there with Mish just because they hadn't played on the penalty kill. The penalties definitely are coming into play with this line blender, but Torts just has to have some sort of discipline and say, I need to put something together and let it work. I don't think he's blameless in all this, but the players could absolutely help out by not sucking. What do you have, Craig? I'm winded.
I'm Craig now?
Oh, Jesus.
We've gone back in time. Gotta go back
Oh, my
in
God.
time.
That was
honestly,
I got
that
a
was
redhead
hysterical.
here.
I understand the connection right here.
Oh, man,
Obviously,
that's-
Ryan Paling, right? He's
What
the
a night.
solution at 1C, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Ryan-
he's got Torts' most. I don't know.
I
would love
feel like
to
an imbecile.
see. No, I would love to see some lines like build some chemistry over time. I would absolutely love to see that. Even if we're just talking like consistent wingers for Michkov, a center and a winger for Michkov, because like I always think for this season, like the wins and losses don't matter that much to me. I would like to see some better hockey, but I really just need to see development from the key young guys, and obviously he is the king of that whole setup right there.
Charlie, is this offense just due? Like, I equated it to the way we look at the Phillies sometimes where, and I think we overblow this, but like, yeah, man, they're just going to break out for 10 runs one day. Like, is that coming, or is this just what they are right now? Like, they had 8 shots in the final 2 periods of this game. That's horrendous. And they're trailing the whole time. They're not they're not creating or pushing any offense. Like, are they due? Is there something they're doing that just isn't working? What's the problem with the offense right now?
Yeah, and spoiler alert, like that's going to be my column after the game is more or less, is this bad luck or are they just bad? Because I think, so here's the thing. Number one, they are legitimately snake bitten. Like there is a bad luck element to this. They are creating chances that you would think some of them are going to go in, particularly like the first 2/3 of this game. They created a bunch of legitimately high quality chances. And John Tortorella even pointed out after the game, he's like, look, I think this whole game, it feels differently in terms of how we're feeling about ourselves. And as much as we've talked about how John Tortorella doesn't love Sean Couturier, I don't think this was meant as a shot at Coots. He basically just said, like, imagine if Couturier scores on the second shift of the game, that shot that hits the crossbar. He's just like, it's a totally different game, and not just because of the goal, because we're just feeling better about ourselves. We're not behind the proverbial 8 ball and gripping the sticks too tight and worrying if we're ever going to score. And I do think that there is an element of bad luck, an element of being snake bitten. However, and this is important, think back to last year. Like, number one, this team didn't score a ton of goals last year. No. But the way they scored goals, it was never because they had a super high shooting percentage. It was because they generated a lot of shots. And they just kind of like, okay, well, if you shoot the puck 36 times in a game on goal, like you're going to luck into 2 or 3. And that was more or less how they did it. Well, tonight, like they didn't break 20. And that's the bigger concern. Like, look, they are going to get better luck. Some of these chances are going to go in. Some of these shots that they're setting up are going to stop hitting posts, are going to stop missing the net. Like, there will be a time, I promise you, and I know it doesn't seem like it's possible, there will be a time when, like, Owen Tippett hits the net with his shots. Like, it's going to happen, I swear. It's not going to go on forever. But this is not a team, true talent-wise, that is going to have an above-league average shooting percentage. They weren't last year. They really didn't make that many changes other than adding Michkov, who, like, super talented, but, like, he's a 19-year-old rookie. I'm not expecting him to turn this team into an above-average shooting team on his own. So if they're going to want to score goals, it's not going to be because they're going to be able to hold a 11%, 12% shooting percentage. It's going to be because they take a lot of shots. And if they're not taking a lot of shots, they're going to have a lot of games where they score 1, 2 goals and that's it. That to me is the bigger problem. And the question is are they playing well enough structurally? Do they have the puck enough to create the kind of shot volume they did last year, which allowed them to overcome the fact that they're not a good finishing team? Because I don't think this is a good finishing team. I think they can get past it if they shoot enough. Tonight, they did not shoot enough.
Just one more for you, Charlie, because there were no stars. Nick Deslauriers 1, 2, and 3.
Also, can I rant a little bit about that? And I'm not saying that this changed the game or that like they would have scored, but Nick Deslauriers, come on, man. Okay, I know you're only in there to fight. I get it. It's your first game of the year. You're already chirping with the guy on your first shift to drop the gloves. It's an offensive zone faceoff. You win the draw. You've got the puck. The other team's defense is scrambling. You didn't score a single goal in the home opener. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe wait 15 seconds for the puck to go out to the neutral zone before you start fighting a guy. Like, that to me, and I know I'm like, maybe I'm a little bit of a like anti-fighter in the sense that like I don't think every single fight is inherently good because someone's getting his face punched in. Like, that to me was so god damn stupid. Like, have some sort of awareness and don't just be like,
I love what
I'm gonna fight. Like, fuck, don't fight in that situation. Your team needs goals. You have the puck in the offensive zone. That was insanely stupid in my opinion.
Let's also call out the coach, though, for putting Nick Deslauriers on an offensive zone draw, because that's a bad idea.
Well,
Fair point.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Nick Seeler made his return tonight, Charlie. Played 15-30, the fewest amongst defensemen. A couple of shots, had almost scored a shorthanded goal, 1 block, 2 hits. What'd you think of Nick Seeler in his season debut?
I thought Seeler was fine. One thing I will say about this game, and there weren't a lot of good things about the Flyers in this game. I thought, set aside the third period, because I think once they score that third goal right after Sanheim finally gets a goal, and Sanheim more or less admitted this, and then John Tortorella after the game straight up said that's the way he felt like it was on the bench. The bench just got deflated after that third goal. You work so hard to get the 1 goal, then suddenly you're down 2 again. After that, I just think the team was out. Like, it was over functionally. But before that, I thought the Flyers actually played good defensively. Like, the 2 goals they give up are shorthanded goals on, transition rushes. Like, yeah, that stinks, and you blame the second power play unit, sure. But I thought defensively, they did most of this game. They did a good job getting in lanes. They did a good job tying up sticks. They did a good job, winning puck battles. I thought defensively, this was a pretty good game for the Flyers until the wind got completely knocked out of their sails in the third. And I do think that the presence of Nick Seeler helped in that regard, because he is a defensively oriented defenseman who blocks a ton of shots and just does those little things in the defensive zone. I thought defensively, the team was better. The big problem now is just scoring goals.
Nicky Norris, man, he's back, and things are going to turn around from here. All right, that is Flyers, the number 1 Flyers beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, coming to us live from the Wells Fargo Center. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thanks, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.